Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is where we talk sports 7 nights a week with you. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani here. Andrew Fillipponi is at 93.7 The Fan. PM team from 2 to 6 every day. And we would love to hear from you at 412-575-2600. While most of the attention's been on the exit of the football team, the Penguins are working on a pretty quick exit for the third consecutive season, Andrew. And last night was one of the more pathetic games they have played, a 2-1 loss to San Jose. Another case of bad decisions in their own end. We saw this in Seattle, cost them 2 goals. There were 2 more last night. Careless play, lifeless is a word I heard a lot describing them. So they're in a situation now where they've dug themselves into last place in the Eastern Metropolitan Division, second worst record in the East. What do they do at this point? And the trade deadline's coming up.
Well, they're really, I think, in a similar spot to the Steelers in that I don't see them being able to orchestrate a full-on rebuild. I think that they can continue to play and languish here and end up, Bob, in the lottery, and we'll see if they get ping-pong luck in where they pick. But as far as being able to blow this thing up, Mike Sullivan is not going to get fired. Kyle Dubas is not going to get fired. And other than Marcus Pettersson, you tell me who else is going to get traded, because as you have used this pulpit and this soapbox so many times, and I give you credit for it, they've basically given out no movement clauses like fun-sized candy bars on Halloween. Everybody's basically got one on the roster. Yeah. So they don't even have the leverage. They don't even have really the power to make the moves to get them out of this situation in a more expeditious, accelerated fashion. So I think other than Marcus Pettersson, Bob, I don't really know if there's anybody else who's a lock to get dealt between now and the deadline.
I would say Rickard Rakell, but I'm not sure if he has a slight more no-movement clause or what he has, but he's the most, tempting guy if you're another team looking at their roster, who you'd like. He's a 22-goal scorer, I think it was, at last count. I can't remember how many he has. He hasn't scored in a couple of games here. They haven't put the puck in the net enough. So he would be one. If you can try to get those other 2 guys, Malkin and Letang, to agree to something, who knows? That would be about your only hope. They won't ask him. Well, I think they may have to.
I bet every dollar in my bank account, which is not as hefty as yours yet. I'm trying to get there, Bob. You got a few years on me.
You will exceed me.
I just don't see them doing that. And Tyler Kennedy has made a very good point on this several times. He says, once you ask a guy to waive a no-movement clause, you're saying that you no longer want them on the team. And I just don't think they have the guts and the courage to do that with those 2 players in particular. I also think, Bob, it's possible that Kyle Dubas might look at this and think, all right, this year it didn't work. Maybe next year we get a top 10 pick. The guy instantly plays in the NHL and doesn't have to go play juniors or in the minor leagues or anything like that. We get better goaltending, and maybe we can be a team that sneaks into the playoffs next year. I don't know. I don't see them fully going all the way into a rebuild mode because they're crippled by those big no-movement clause contracts they have on the books.
Yeah, they certainly are, and they don't have much help in their system. If you do get a top pick, I don't know if there are any Macklin Celebrinis out there, 18-year-old kids who are ready to step in and play.
He's a nice player. He's fantastic.
Nice player.
I like him a lot.
San Jose has a few nice players on there, but this is what happens when you stink as badly as they have stunk over the years. So they got to figure out something here at this point, and it has to be a plan. Now, on that topic, I'm going to keep it to hockey real quick because we're going to see a lull in the action, 2 weeks worth of no hockey, and we have the 4 nations coming up, that competition, which claims it's the best in the world, matching the best in the world, but a team from Russia is not there. So
exactly,
you have a team that is probably the best in the world, or at least one of them, and they're not even going to be accounted for. And then I asked the question, these things, and I've said this all along with these all-star type of games or whatever, well, who do they benefit really? The players love it because they get to hang out with each other for 2 weeks and play on lines they could never assemble on their own. But what benefit does it have for the Pittsburgh Penguins to watch Crosby or any of these teams who send their stars? What if they get hurt?
Well, I think in this situation, the NHL teams are making money off of it because it's in conjunction with the league. So that's the way in this tournament, the NHL teams are placated. Unlike the Olympics, Bob, where they get no money. And they're just basically holding their breath and keeping their fingers crossed and saying their prayers that none of their guys get injured. But on the flip side of that, I would say Olympic medals mean way more than whatever the heck this tournament is. You know, I'll watch it because of what you just said. There's a break here, and it's after the Super Bowl, and there's no football going on. But, I mean, if you win the Four Nations tournament, is it really something that goes on your all-time resume or legacy as a player? I don't think so.
No. For the player, it may be fine. I'm asking, what does it mean for the team? So what? If Sidney Crosby gets the golden goal in Vancouver, I mean, it means that people understand that Canada makes out. He's a Canadian kid. But what about the Penguins? What if you go there and you end up getting hurt and you can't play the rest of the season? What do they get out of it?
No doubt. I mean, I would say that with the golden goal that you're referencing and what happened in Vancouver in 2010, I think even though you might not be able to measure it tangibly, I do think that helps grow the game and gets more eyeballs on hockey. I think that's a good thing. I don't see this tournament doing that. I mean, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it'll surprise me. I don't see people stopping what they're doing to watch the Four Nations tournament. They might take a break from hockey for a couple of weeks, then come back to it afterwards. And that's a long time to be away, Bob.
It is.
I'm with you. I mean, there wasn't a way to do this in a more in a way where you could get it done in a week, 2 weeks. I'm not a fan of that.
No, and I think it disrupts everything, but that's just the way it is this year.
It does.
We'll see what happens. No all-star game. This kind of takes the place of it. We'll take a break here, come back with more. We have a poll question up, as you can see, and all you have to do is go on that QR code. Should the Penguins kind of blow things up? What do you think? And if so, call us and tell us how they do it at 412-575-2600. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. All right, welcome back. Our GMC Sierra tweet of the night is about the Rising Stars game, and guess who's in it? Bub Carrington. Last year, Pitt, 14th overall pick from the Washington Wizards. They have actually 3 young kids in this. Good to see. And by the way, Pitt is in action tonight, and they've come back after falling behind by 10. They lead North Carolina by 3. We'll keep you updated on that. In the meantime, Pirates made another signing today, Andrew. It's back to the future for Adam Frazier. And I made this point earlier, and I just believe it. This was one opportunity, a rare one for them to get, where the Penguins and the Steelers are kind of falling apart, and they have a wide open sports calendar for themselves here if they wanted to, and making some aggressive plays heading into spring training, spending more money would have given them a little good PR boost, and who knows what kind of optimism, which naturally is there at spring training anyway, would have taken off, at least for Pirate fans who think they have a chance with this pitching staff, but they did none of that.
Yeah, the PR thing I do think is important for the Pirates because they fought that battle for so long with their fans based on how much losing they've done and the narrative that they prioritize stuff other than winning. However, more importantly is what I think those moves would have done for their team in 2025, meaning I honestly think with a couple of moves, you could turn this team into a playoff team. The Cubs have made the Kyle Tucker move. The Cubs have brought in Ryan Presley from Houston. The Reds ended up bringing in Gavin Lux from the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. They brought in Terry Francona to be their manager. The Brewers have won the division the last 2 years. I mean, all of those teams, if you were optimistic about it and said maybe they were equal with the Pirates when the season ended, not that I feel that way because Milwaukee won 90 games, but even if I felt that way when the season ended, you'd have to say that those teams have moved ahead of the Pirates based on their offseason actions. So that's really the frustrating and discouraging thing about it, Bob, was we got to take a timeout here on the Sports Call to talk about Adam Frazier. For crying out loud, the guy hit 200 last year, and I give the Pirates credit for this the first time. They sold high on him, and he has not been a good hitter since. They picked the right time to trade him.
But also the wrong time. I think they have a glut of second baseman and shortstop. I know he plays outfield, but man, they should spend more money on more adequate bats who could have helped them and given them some excitement coming into this training camp season. All right, let's go to the Lions. Chuck in Uniontown is our first caller tonight. Pony, Chuck, haven't heard from you in a while. Hope all is well.
Yeah, it sure is. And thanks. Good to talk to both of you again. Yeah, the most disgusting thing to me about this is that they're wasting the Paul Skeens gift. You've got, I mean, fellas, you couldn't have said any better than I could. I couldn't have said any better than you could. It's just inertia. They're just wasting time and wasting opportunity. It's out there to be taken, but you know, nobody can help you if you don't want to help yourself.
Yeah.
And
their payroll's low. I see what Oakland has done. Oakland spent a ton of money. I believe they got Rooker to what was a really attractive deal. Kept him there. I would have was it 5 years, 60
They signed
million?
Severino.
Severino for $67 million. They're the Oakland A's, and they've spent $120-some million on two guys. Where are the Pirates in this? And that leads to this tweet here. We have R. Lewicki who says, Ben Cherington has done nothing to improve the Pirates, so it makes him think the fans want to go. To see this again, the team he's put together, wasting starting pitching, and you know, and that's the thing. They have arguably one of the best young starting staffs in baseball, you can say at this point, and they haven't done anything to help them out.
So my theory on this is, much like last year, there's a budget for 2025, and Ben Cherington has not spent to that number yet. He's waiting for the price to come down on one-year deals. And, Bob, it's the same thing that I think in the end we criticized the Pirates for last year. I think they'll end up spending, let's say, ballpark $25 to $30 million on free agents. Instead of making 2 or 3 significant ones, they'll make 6 or 7 signings of guys on one-year deals for, like we saw Adam Frazier, $1 million here, $4 million there, $3 million there. And are any of those guys really going to make an impact on this team the way that if you had identified 2 really good players, they would have been able to do that? And I just do not understand why. In that respect, I think that is more of a Ben Cherington problem than the owner. It's not a lot of money to free up to spend, but I don't even agree with the way he spends it, Bob. Yeah, I don't. Do you?
If I'm going to spend $30 million, I will spend it on one player who can dynamically hit 40 home runs, or 2 that can help me in positions of need. They had a guy who could have played right field for them, who signed a free agent deal from Baltimore, who was one of the better. Santander was a player available. He would have fit their need right now.
And he deferred a lot of the money, too.
Yeah,
deferred a ton of the money down the road.
Jack Sawinski's coming back to play there. Who's going to play right field?
I would guess Sawinski would be the right fielder. We haven't even mentioned Henry
Davis in any conversation yet. He wasn't even at Pirate Fest. So that's a problem. All right, let's go back to the lines. So we got David in Finleyville. Hey, David, how are you?
Bob, thanks for taking my call. To the question, I'll answer that to let go of the Steelers. I mean, not the Steelers, but the Penguins. I say yes. But to the question for you and Pony is, why is Minka Fitzpatrick in the Pro Bowl game this weekend for not doing anything at all?
It's reputation, but also they have one of the highest numbers of people now because Russell Wilson got added today, Sayamalu got yesterday. You may as well call it what it is, and I think J.J. Watt put this on. I liked what he put, is participation bowl. Everyone seems to be there. It's not a correct identity of what the Steelers have done in terms of their success on the field as a team. When you have how many now? They have 8 guys going, Pony? I mean, that's a lot for a team that, and Fitzpatrick specifically, my eyes tell me that I didn't see enough plays from him. They can tell me all they want that he's back there in center field and he looks good, but I'd rather have him be more aggressive and put him in places where I could utilize him to make turnover kind of plays.
It's not representative of the way the team performed this year. They're sending all these guys to the Pro Bowl. They lost a playoff game in blowout fashion again. 5 in a row to end the season, never led in any of those games. Bob, don't you think it's at least worth a phone call? Art Rooney to Mike McCarthy. Big Mike said he's sitting out this year. See if he wants to hang out in Pittsburgh for a year and just be an extra set of eyes.
Consultant, yeah, senior consultant.
Yeah. I don't know, Bob. Maybe he can get a foot-long sub and he can sit up in a booth on game day and he can tell Mike, hey, Mike, you might want to challenge this. Hey, Mike, you might want to call timeout. I'm serious. I mean, I don't think he would do that for 31 other teams. He might come home and do it for the Steelers.
I have nothing
against that. And if he politely says no, fine. But I think he could be of value to this team for a year.
No question
about it. That's what Mike Vrabel did in Cleveland last year.
Right. Now
he was
has
a consultant.
New head coaching job. Exactly right. Let's go to Paul in Salzburg before we take a break. Hey, Paul, what's up?
Hey, Bob, what I can't understand is the offensive line when all these high draft picks, they're putting them in positions where they shouldn't be playing, and you have an offensive line coach that really isn't doing the job. I love Mike Munchak. How they ever left him out of Pittsburgh,
well,
he
wanted to go number one, Paul. But I will disagree in one sense of this. I think if you're going to blame him for Broderick Jones and Dan Moore, you should credit him for what happened with Adam Frazier, and more specifically, McCormick at right guard. He had been thrown in there when James Daniels got hurt. So I always have a hard time trying to assess who's to blame for this, Andrew. To me, it's a combination of things, but Broderick Jones needs to be better, much better, especially if he's going to take over left tackle.
I totally agree with that part, but, to the caller's point here, for every guy, like for example, Sam Alu's in the Pro Bowl. I don't think he's played to an all-star level the last 2 years. I think he's been solid, but he hasn't played like one of the highest paid players on their offense, and that's exactly what he's been. Broderick Jones looked like he could play right tackle at the tail end of his rookie year. Never really put it together. Was better late in the season, but the body of work was not that impressive. I just wonder with Meyer, the thing I heard was he had a scheme that he coaches as an offensive line, and it didn't fit what Arthur Smith did, but they kept Meyer, Bob, before they hired Smith. So it's kind of an odd shotgun marriage between those two guys, given their philosophies, competing philosophies about offensive football.
That's an excellent point. We're going to take a break, come back with more right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, 7 nights a week on KDKA+. Pitt got hot at one point, now they got cold again. Andrew, they're losing by 4 to Carolina late in the game. Highlights at 11. Are they a tournament team if they lose this game?
Yes, but barely, and I was at the game for the first half. Cassidy Wood said hello, and she's taking it all in. Zach Austin just had an incredible dunk, Bob. That's probably going to make the highlight reel.
I'm glad you told me because we have to get upstairs and cut that. So thank you very much, Pony. Appreciate your contributions to the Sports at 11. Good night, and we'll see you again next week. In the meantime, check us out every single night of the week, most nights on 93.7 The Fan, every night right here on KDKA+. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Thanks for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.